What in the world is going on, guys? Sports Snippets with Dennis Sullivan here to discuss with you the amazing Final Four that took place, particularly that second game. We're going to talk all about it. I got my key points right here as we get set for the championship game on Monday night, the 5th. Looking forward to it, guys. Before we do get started, just a little bit of an announcement as I get a little bit close up here for a second to the camera. If you do like the content of this particular video, go right ahead. Hit that like button, guys. That would be awesome. Also, consider subscribing to my channel, Sports Snippets with Dennis Sullivan, because I got plenty of sports coming up this entire spring, summer, into the fall. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of the Final Four, of the games themselves. Let me know if there's a topic you want me to talk about. Can't promise I'll talk about it, but I will certainly consider it. Let's get started right now, guys. Right now. So here we go. Got some main points here on the snippets board. Whew, it was some doubleheader. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to really touch on the Houston-Baylor game, the first game. I'm not going to go too deeply into that because there's a lot to talk about with that UCLA-Gonzaga classic that was played. I learned a few things, not just really about both teams, mainly about UCLA. I got to tell you guys, that was one of the best college basketball games I've ever seen. But let's start, as mentioned, Baylor, great job by them. Deserved to be in the final game. Awesome performance. One of the faster starting teams I've ever seen in my life when it comes to just how they come out of the gate, and they're so ready to go. I'm like thinking to myself, what kind of pregame speeches are being made, or is this the players, or they're just really prepared? But they're one of the faster starting teams. Actually, along with Gonzaga, this will be the battle of like the two fastest starting teams in an NCAA tournament ever. I wonder if there's a stat on that. We could check that out, but can't really say about that one. But Baylor gets it done. Now, really, just to highlight on that game before we get into the big one, UCLA-Gonzaga, I thought Baylor, the main thing, they played great defensively. They took Houston out of their offense consistently throughout the game. That was a great defensive performance. Baylor, all 5 starters, believe it or not, would get at least 1 steal. As a matter of fact, all 5 starters had 1 steal except for Jared Butler, who had 2 steals. Butler would lead the way with 17 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. You had Davion Mitchell with 12 points and 11 assists and a steal. Teague, 11 points, 6 assists and a steal. So between Mitchell and Teague, you got 17 assists right there. Matthew Mayer added 12 points, 4 rebounds off the bench. Jonathan Thatch had 11 points and 6 rebounds for Baylor. Great performance. The thing is too that Houston, they would only generate something like they would only generate actually 10 assists. As a team, it was 23-10 in the assist department. Advantage Baylor. Marcus Sasser would lead the way for Houston Cougars. 20 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. And you did have Quentin Grimes. He always plays well. He had 13 points, 2 steals, and a block. Quentin Grimes, definitely one of the better players I've seen in this tournament. Sasser's good too. Houston had a good year, but Baylor's, they just played really good. And in this tournament, we saw it against Arkansas, where they just came out and destroyed them. So, in the beginning, that game eventually became a little bit more of a game. Arkansas put up a little bit better fight than Houston did, but I think that was more just Baylor being on their game, being so prepared. So congratulations to them. They go to the final game. Now for the classic, guys. Now for the big one. Gonzaga with the amazing victory at the buzzer with the three-pointer, 93-90. I share with you some notes that I took from this game. And here's what happened. So I start watching the game. I'm noticing to myself, you know what? This is going to be a classic. Like this is good. At the very least, I'm saying to myself, you know what? This is going to be a game. This is in the first half, about 7-8 minutes in, because I'm looking up at the score. It's about 11-10 Gonzaga, and I'm like, wow. You know, I'm used to it being 19-2 Gonzaga. Before I even, make myself a sandwich, the other team's already down like 17 or something like that. So I'm sitting there saying, wow, UCLA really showed up. Okay, you may have gone through the same process or the same thought pattern. Then I start taking some notes. I just want to share with you some of the notes that I took from the first half into the second half. There was an unforced error. I noticed a couple of unforced errors on the part of Gonzaga, which I'm not used to seeing. So tells me they were a little bit rattled. They kind of knew they were in the game now. This is only halfway through the first half, guys. This is like 8, 9, 10 minutes in. Then Tiger Campbell. I'm a believer. I'm a full believer, guys, in Tiger Campbell. Very good offensive game. He hit a couple of tough shots, but mainly he was really good getting to the basket. I love the drop step move in the second half near the left elbow, which was really nice, commented on by the reporters. Tiger Campbell showed me a lot, as did the rest of the UCLA team, but really 4 guys on the UCLA team were very impressive to me. There were nice screen and rolls set by Gonzaga in the first half. They're good at that. The backdoor cuts, the screen and rolls. They're really good at that. However, UCLA, if you notice, broke up some of those screen and rolls. UCLA was very, very prepared for this game, guys. They were very prepared for this game. If you notice, when Gonzaga tried to switch up the defense, they were ready. UCLA was ready. Also, some nice backdoor cuts with about 7 minutes left in the half. I also made an additional note, which kind of goes along with what I was just saying, by Gonzaga, that is. And they're very good without the ball. They're very good in their offense. They're not undefeated by mistake or by accident, guys. That's not an accident, right? Now, as we head towards the end of the first half, what happened? Because UCLA, let's remember, UCLA was up by about 5-6 points. All of a sudden, Campbell gets 2 fouls. Now he has 2 fouls. Jaquez has 2 fouls. Bernard has 3. So they're in foul trouble now. They don't want Tiger or Jaquez to get that 3rd foul, and Bernard's already in foul trouble. So what was a 5-6, more like a 6-point lead for UCLA turns into a 1-point Gonzaga advantage at the half. That was a key turning point or a pivotal sequence within this game. No questions asked about that. There is a beautiful give and go now getting into the second half. With UCLA about 3-4 minutes in, the teamwork, the passing, the offensive execution by UCLA was fantastic. Gonzaga goes up by about 7 with about 11 minutes left, and you're kind of sitting there going, okay, is this it? This is going to be it now. Gonzaga wins by 15. Here we go. But no. That's when the Tiger Campbell drop step move near the left elbow came in that I loved. And they were mentioning he's only 5'10". He doesn't play his size. He plays like he's 6'7", this guy. Also, there was that block shot by Gonzaga, as you recall, late in the second half, followed by the pass down court and the dunk on the other end. Gonzaga starting to celebrate like we got this, which I have to admit was a little premature because this would go into overtime. UCLA, though, would answer right away. This, guys, was one of the best college basketball games I have ever seen. Gonzaga deserved to win it, which they did 93-90. But I got to tell you what, UCLA, I'm going to summarize it for you right now, why I think UCLA hung in there this entire game. And really, many could say could have and it potentially should have won this game. I put UCLA skill, the word skill next to UCLA. I'm going to give you a very simple, basic reason why UCLA played so awesome in this tournament and almost upset Gonzaga. Their skill offensively, and defensively too, of course, but offensively, you got about 4 or 5 guys on that team that you cannot leave open. Like, for example, Cody Riley on the elbow. Cody Riley, or excuse me, on the baseline, you can't leave him open on the baseline. He's going to hit those shots. Tiger Campbell, already discussed. Jaquez, Johnny Juzang. These guys can all play, and not only can they play really well, you cannot leave them unattended. I'm telling you right now, guys, some of the better teams in this tournament had about, from an offensive perspective, had maybe 2 guys, maybe 3 of the same level of a Riley, a Campbell, a Juzang, or a Jaquez. These guys are like 25-point potential scorers any given night. So the execution offensively and the skill offensively, I'm sitting there going, what were these? These guys had to be like, you know, not only first-team All-State players, but I mean, they had to be like, these are the type of college players that are more in the top 4 or 5 all-time scorers in their state. that type of effect. Point number 4, I did put fast start, meaning, yes, as touched on a little bit earlier, the championship game between Gonzaga and Baylor will be a battle of, as I mentioned, probably the 2 fastest starting teams I've ever seen. They both come out of the gate like I've never seen consistently. The only reason why Gonzaga struggled a little bit in that first half, and as I mentioned, after maybe 7-8 minutes or so, we're only up by a point and then fell down behind by a handful of points, was because of the outstanding effort of UCLA. A lot of talent on that team. I could talk UCLA all day, guys. I'm ready to wrap up this video, but I could just talk about this UCLA Bruins team all day. If you've seen any of my other videos on the tournament, I really focused mainly on the Baylor Houston brackets on that side of the tournament. It's just kind of how it worked out, and I watched UCLA, but not as closely as I watched them Saturday night in the Final Four. I was very impressed. So just to wrap it up, guys, Juzang led the way for UCLA, 29 points, 6 rebounds, excuse me, and 2 steals. Jaquez had 19 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. Tiger Campbell, 17 points, 7 assists. He had a couple nice passes too. Real nice bounce pass there in the second half, I noticed. And a steal. Cody Riley, really hard not to like this guy. 14 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and a block. Cody Riley's got a good game at forward for UCLA. Drew Timme led the way for Gonzaga, 25 points, 4 rebounds. Joel Ayayi, with a spectacular performance, was credited throughout the game as really stepping up in this one. 22 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals. Jalen Suggs, 16 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and a block. Jalen Suggs was everywhere. He was awesome. Corey Kispert, another balanced game for one of the Zags. 15 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and a block. And then you had Andrew Nemhard with 11 points, 8 assists, and a steal. So Coach Few, I tell you what, Gonzaga, now as I close this video out, guys, Gonzaga is a game away, a victory away of becoming the first team since 1976 to finish undefeated and win the NCAA tournament. Last team to do that were the Indiana Hoosiers and Coach Bob Knight, 1976. We go 32-0. So history, it's been done something like 7-8 times, but a lot of that were the, believe it or not, the UCLA wooden teams, and maybe that played into it, right? A little extra motivation for UCLA to not have Gonzaga. Hey, there you go, I just thought of that. Become one of the small handful of undefeated teams that won the tournament. And in the 50s, so like 50s, 60s, and then the 70s had one, right, in Indiana, and that's been it. And it's hard to do today. You know, it's a little bit longer schedule. There used to be 32 teams in the tournament first round. Now there's 64, and you got the first four, which miraculously UCLA had to get an extra win just to get into the 64. So there's a lot to, I mean, there's so much to discuss. And guys, I really appreciate you being here for this video, watching this video. Go ahead, as I mentioned, go ahead, hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel. We got a lot to talk about. Monday night's going to be a classic too. It's going to be a good game, a good matchup. Baylor's got a heck of a team. We already know about Gonzaga. So I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.